featuring on African liberation heroes is Robert Mugabe. Robert Gabriel Mugabe is a freedom-fighting anti-colonial nationalist, revolutionary, leader, teacher, and politician. He was born on February 21, 1924, near Kutama, northeast of Salisbury, now Harare, in what was then British-ruled southern Rhodesia. He was the son of Gabriel Matibili, a migrant worker from Nyasaland, Malawi, who had been trained as a carpenter by the Jesuits. His mother, Bona, belonged to the Shona ethnic group and taught Christian catechism to village children as the Jesuits' mission. Mugabe was trained in a Roman Catholic family and received his early education at mission schools. He graduated from Kutama's St. Francis Xavier College in 1945 as a trained teacher, following which he taught in various schools in southern Rhodesia, Zambia, and Ghana. Mugabe pursued higher education in South Africa and later in Ghana, earning multiple degrees, and during which he was also influenced by Osagifo Dr. Kwame Nkrumah's ideas on independence and African socialism. Mugabe returned to Zimbabwe in 1960 at a time when black people's rights were rapidly shrinking under a group of right-wing white leaders. He joined the pro-independence National Democratic Party (NDP), becoming its publicity secretary. In 1961, the NDP was banned and was reformed as the Zimbabwe African People's Union (ZAPU). However, following differences in ideologies and power struggle, ZAPU split in 1963. Mugabe and others then founded the Zimbabwe African National Union (ZANU) in Tanzania in August 1963, with Ndabaningi Sithole and Robert Mugabe emerging as the party's president and general secretary, respectively. The organization adopted Marxist ideologies, promoting social and economic equality as central tenets of its agenda during the liberation struggle. In 1964, ZANU was banned by the colonial government and Mugabe was handed a 10-year imprisonment. Whilst in prison, Mugabe taught English to his fellow prisoners and earned multiple graduate degrees by correspondence from the University of London. He was released in 1974 at the insistence of South Africa's apartheid government and was allowed to attend a conference in Zambia. From there, he escaped to Mozambique to join the Zimbabwe African National Liberation Army, which was facing off against the colonial government in what came to be known as the Rhodesian Bush War, or Chimurenga, a Shona word for revolutionary struggle. This fierce series of battles saw at least 20,000 people killed. In 1979, Mugabe was one of the key negotiators in the British-brokered Lancaster House Agreement that brought the major parties together to negotiate majority rule and allow for an election. This political pact marked an end to the colonial rule. On March 4, 1980, Mugabe won the general elections and became the country's first prime minister. As prime minister and later president, Mugabe embraced conciliation with the country's white minority and rivals. He also focused on land reforms and economic development. Mugabe's education policies made Zimbabwe the envy of Africa. Schools were built virtually everywhere to ensure that every child had a school within walking distance, raising the literacy rate in Zimbabwe to 98% by the late 1990s. In 1987, Mugabe's ruling party, the Zimbabwe African National Union (ZANU), merged with the main opposition party, the Zimbabwe African People's Union (ZAPU), in what became known as the 1987 Unity Accord. The Unity Accord paved the way for the creation of a new party, the Zimbabwe African National Union Patriotic Front (ZANU-PF), effectively establishing one-party rule under Robert Mugabe. Throughout his leadership, Mugabe consistently voiced his support for African unity and independence on various international platforms. He was a vocal critic of Western imperialism and was unafraid to confront global powers he perceived as trying to undermine African sovereignty. This stance won him admiration across the continent. Mugabe played a key role in the Organization of African Unity (OAU) and later the African Union, where he pushed his policies that prioritized African interests and resisted Western influence. He was also active in other regional bodies, advocating for African solidarity and the empowerment of Black Africans across the continent. Mugabe's Pan-Africanist legacy is complex. While he was celebrated as a champion of African independence, his later years in power were marked by policies that led to economic devastation and human rights abuses in Zimbabwe. Mugabe's government implemented controversial land reforms in the 2000s, which involved the seizure of white-owned farms, leading to economic collapse, hyperinflation, and widespread poverty.
Some 5,000 whites have left the country. Why have those people left, sir?
I cannot say, but I think some of them just cannot accept the reality of an African government. They are racist in character, and we say good riddance. Others are perhaps frightened. So they needn't be frightened about us. Our policy is one of trying to accommodate everybody and to ensure that all people are treated equally on a non-racial basis.
These actions tarnished Mugabe's reputation, leading to criticism that his version of Pan-Africanism became more about retaining personal power than genuinely advancing the cause of African unity and progress. However, despite this, Mugabe remains a prominent Pan-Africanist who believed Africa's resources were for Africans only and not for exploitation and benefit of colonial masters. On November 21, 2017, he was forced to resign following an army coup and was replaced by Emerson Mnangagwa, the man he had early on fired as his deputy. Robert Mugabe died at age 95 from prostate cancer on September 6, 2019, while receiving medical treatment in Singapore. He was buried in the courtyard of his family home west of Harare in a private ceremony attended by close family members. Robert Mugabe is prominently remembered for his role in liberating Zimbabwe from colonial rule, advocating for African self-determination, and challenging West dominance in African affairs.